I welcome you to the session, and as a member of the Academic Council, it is my privilege and pleasure to moderate this session today. Parampara means tradition and legacy. The seminal idea is to see how family business legacy can get passed on across multiple generations in the spirit of collaboration, effectiveness, progress, and perpetuity. Through these online symposium series, we empower both established and upcoming family businesses to overcome barriers and discover new ways of surviving and thriving. Parampara means tradition and legacy. We are a not-for-profit initiative of the GMR Foundation and are dedicated to creating awareness and education on family business. The previous 6 sessions saw more than 4,800 registrations, with participants from over 15 countries. 85% of the attendees rated the sessions as very good or excellent. It's heartening to receive such positive feedback from all of you. Thank you for your participation and sponsorship. In this session, we have around 2,800 registrations. In the previous sessions, we had some fantastic international experts sharing their experiences and ideas with us. In essence, we made the point that good, strong family values and relationships pave the way for strong family governance. Strong family governance, in turn, informs strong corporate governance. And when these three come together, alongside a fair succession process, perpetuity begins to take shape. In the earlier sessions, while we talked of family, in this session, we shift our focus to the business part of the family and understand what it takes for perpetuity of the business. To speak to us today, we have Dr. Ram Charan, the top global thought leader in strategy, acclaimed author, an international coach and business advisor to some of the top companies, CEOs, and boards. He's known for cutting through the complexity of running a business to uncover the core business challenges. His real-world solutions, shared with millions through his books and articles in top business publications, have been praised for being practical, relevant, and highly actionable. The kind of advice you can use Monday morning. Jack Welch, former chairman of GE, said, he has the rare ability to distill meaningful from meaningless and transfer it to others in a quiet, effective way. Ram was among Business Week's top 10 resources for in-house executive development programs. He has authored more than 30 books that have sold over 2 million copies in more than a dozen languages. Ram and I will be in conversation this evening. Please do send in your questions as they occur to you, and we will try and weave these into our talk. Since this session is more on the business part, if your questions can relate to that aspect of a family company, it would weave in much better. Ram?
Yes,
Hello.
thank you.
Hi, Ram.
Thank you.
you're now in San Francisco, right?
Yes,
And
I am. Yes.
4:30 in the morning.
Yes, thank you.
So really, thank you. Thank you. Heartfelt gratitude for offering your time and attention and agreeing to be with us. We are privileged to have you, Ram, and
Thank you.
we look forward to hearing your perspectives and insights on business perpetuity in family companies. So with that, over to you, Ram.
Thank you. Thank you, PM. I'm delighted to be a part of this session and your kind words about me. My mission in life is to learn every day. We have 2,800 registrants. I would love to have them send questions to you that will tell me what's on their mind. And that will give me fodder to go forward, to do more research, more learning. All my life, I have been involved, engaged, lived with the family companies. I will have 5 major points to describe to the group, and that will set the foundation for questions, ideas. There is no such thing as one size fits all. No nation ever got built without entrepreneurs. All businesses, maybe an exception here and there, it started with one single thing. It started as a small business, family business, entrepreneurial business. The largest number of entrepreneurs are the street hawkers, the street vendors. Then we have the corner store, and then it began to expand going forward. And so the first item is for the founder or the existing parent. Has to be very clear, has to be courageous, has to be bullseye, no wishy-washy. Is the objective business perpetuity? Is the objective when the founder passes from this planet? Is the objective, sole objective, that the business should continue for a long time? I want to give you 3 examples. 1 Indian, 2 American. One is well known, Walmart, Sam Walton. He started with 1 store, and he was totally devoted to that Walmart should continue forever. With 1 store towards largest retailer in terms of revenues, and he put some processes in for the board, for perpetuity, but he made certain things to have that business to last for a long time, and that the people who are going to be ensuring that the business would last for a long time. Just a minor thing, people don't really know this. He tried his succession when he was alive. He tried 2 CEOs, one at a time, none worked out. Eventually, he found the right one, and then he put the rules in the board of the family control, which is 51%, and his brother's children, who will succeed, not succeed, that will continue. This is the story of Sam Walton. I can elaborate later. A second one, 1980, very small insurance agency, 2 brothers, Bob and John, very, very small. In the succession, they chose John's son. And John was very unhappy about this. John's son has taken this company now from that little small agency to number 3 in the United States. Selection became very critical. We now have Wipro, fantastic company. It started with a small oil company. And this one's succession is brilliant, where the son is now the executive chairman and head of the foundation. And now he has the freedom to do the right things to take it to perpetuity. So item number 1, the founder or the existing parents must have the courage to say, this is the objective, this is what they want. Other objectives will have to become subordinates. In any life, you can't accomplish all objectives. You can't make everybody happy. This is the thing that the founders, the existing parents, need to come to terms what that is. So PM, that's point number one that I like to emphasize. It requires courage. It requires to be facing unpleasantness. I have two situations in India right now where this is the issue, where the courage is not used doing that. I want to go to the real question that you have posed. What are the imperatives for business perpetuity? In a family linked, family owned, or even no family connection, but it continues with the family name, family brand they have created. And there are plenty of examples I have in Germany. It's not yet resolved 14 years in a row. So there are three items. And that's my crystallization of 50 years living in the families in obviously India, America, now China, Brazil, Japan. And they're unbelievably common. It's hands-on, it's personally living with them, observing with them what's happening. So one of the three is the continuous adaptation, continuous in tune with the change in the external environment. Timely, continuous adaptation. It may mean giving up a business you have. It may mean taking a risk to go to a new game. It may mean that we have to get people who are entrepreneurial in action. This is the real juice of perpetuity. To give up something that has become obsolete, but to prepare for the change coming in and to seize new opportunities to continue. If you are down, it will happen. You pick up fast and start again. Not a lot of examples in the world where mistakes were made, company was down, people felt it will not survive. You pick up again and start. That was the case in 2007 with Ford Motor Company. Its competitor, larger competitor, General Motors, went bankrupt. But the board did the right thing. They recruited a person from outside, and he gave life to the Ford company between 2007 and 2014. So the first part, as an imperative, is continuous adaptation, entrepreneurial action, and giving up what made you successful if the environment has changed. Today in India, we hope, we talk a possible $5 trillion economy, a 12% growth, a new legislation coming through to make big investments. It is the entrepreneurial era in India to go for new opportunities, but in a cautious basis. So that's item A as an imperative. Item B as an imperative, the right individual in power. And with that, if you have a board, and board has power, the right board in power. We know nothing overcomes a wrong CEO. It can lead to a disaster. Everybody heard of the brand Panasonic. Mr. Machushta went broke twice, came back, got the right person in power, got the right board. Panasonic survived. It became a very big global brand. Here, I will elaborate on the second item because perpetuity means continuous adaptation, continuous entrepreneurial action, continuous changing things as the world changes. Only leader can do that. And if there is a board, a leader is not effective, the board acts. So perpetuation of a board that has power is essential. Item number C as an imperative is an effective process, social process, family process, board process that ensure we have the right people in power. They have the power to appoint the right person. They have the power to dismiss the person who is in charge of the corporation, family or no family. What is different in a family business, you can't fire anybody, but you got to put a process in where a family member who's taking the company in the wrong direction has to be taken out. You got to create a charter. You got to create a power to do that. Now I come to the business side more clearly. I mentioned first is the bullseye, what's your objective? Second, I mentioned 3 imperatives. Now I come to the continuous adaptation. Continuous adaptation and entrepreneurial action. These two are the sine qua non of perpetuity, be a family or not a family. We have a few companies that have been perpetuating for a long time. There is one in Norway, 400 years. And we have Mars Chocolate in America. So there are a few of these examples. We also know in the Fortune 500, in the Dow Jones, the average duration of a company lasting has been shrunk by a mile. Some of them are less than now 20 years. And that's because the adaptation and because of the entrepreneurship. And that's because not giving up things that have become not relevant. So this continuous adaptation, I have 3 items. Item number 1 is the psychology of perpetuity. Here we have been taught maximize, maximize, maximize. In perpetuity, you do not maximize on a daily basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, or annual basis. You eat less and be healthy. In doing that, you have to make sure that you have portion of your earnings today is invested to build a future for tomorrow. Maximize that psychology. Those who don't build the future, do not invest in the future, do not get the capability of people to build the future, do not take the risk that some things will work out, some things will not work out, that perpetuity will not take place. Risk-taking is the part of the business. Here we have, everybody uses Amazon, most of the people Amazon. Here we have Apple, almost broke in 1997, and a chairman of DuPont became director of Apple. He brought single-handedly Steve Jobs back. Nobody ever imagined this company, almost on the verge of bankruptcy, is now almost a $2 trillion company in market value with $1 billion, 1 billion people using its products and moving into healthcare. So the first part is that the psychology of the individual in power and in the board, they ensure that you are investing a portion of your money, investing into building the future, getting the right capability, right people, taking some risks, experimenting some risks, and knowing where the new technologies, new customers, new needs are coming. If you don't have that, and you don't have short-term, long-term balance, you are not going to be in perpetuity. Your short-term maximization will become shorter. Either you will disappear or you will become a target to take over. In this one, the psychology of perpetuity, there are 2 things that are absolutely mandatory. Many of the family companies have disappeared because they don't have in their charter in the family that they must have liquidity as number 1 item. Many families, it happens in India as well, they took too much debt. They became greedy to leverage the debt, that everything will turn out fine. but we know the world has uncertainty. In this uncertainty, bad times will come because in most countries, we have this pandemic here now, but government regulations, foreign trade, all these things happen. So first part, for survival purposes, every family has a charter in which liquidity is mandatory, and that they have what you have called, PM, is war chest. In the war chest, whether you have your own cash or you have access to cash, because you can pounce on those opportunities. I know I was told this firsthand. Warren Buffett was a small investor where next door neighbor was at one point a gentleman who became executive VP of Coca-Cola. His children will go and play with Warren Buffett, young man, and they will come back and say, Daddy, this gentleman does nothing, just reads newspapers. And that's how he began, very small. But everybody knows he always had war chest. And he waits. And when the opportunity arises, he buys. I'm not talking about stocks. I'm talking about companies. He buys these companies at very low values. He manages very little interference, but he manages on cash. All entrepreneurs who started without any degrees, they manage their business via cash. How much cash coming in, how much cash is going out, how much cash you're investing to build the future, how much cash you have as a war chest, and how much cash you have or you can get when the adversity arises. So in the continuous adaptation, this is item A, the psychology of perpetuity. My purpose of taking so much time on it, PM, is we've got to train our people in the family with examples, with histories, and get them to see that they must come to terms if they want the business to perpetuate, and if they want the family engagement in the perpetuation. This is an imperative. We don't need a fantastic research doing that. There is so much easily available. In the continuous adaptation, I want to talk about the business itself. In the business itself, there are 6 items that the family needs to discuss, psychologically prepared, and then adopt it. First one is the company portfolio. There is no such thing as continuously same portfolio. Portfolio may mean multiple businesses. Many of the members in our attendance today have single business. Here, the portfolio means product lineup, customer lineup, geographical lineup, technology lineup, continuous evaluation of the relevance of your business model and of your strategy, of your suppliers, of your people. Many people help you in the early days, and they have now become less relevant, but they are in occupation of very high power positions. These are dilemmas, and you got to have a methodology of dealing with them, get the family to agree to a charter that how will be handled those situations where the portfolio of capabilities, your product line, your customer set, your distribution, your technologies, your markets. Are they growth markets? Are they relevant today? Are something new coming up that going to make it obsolete? Obsolescence is the fact of life. Are you becoming less cost effective? Is your business model of cash flow, of working capital, of margins, is it relevant? Are you becoming a ham in the sandwich? These are important. And your core competence that got you there, is that becoming less relevant? In the technology change today, many core competencies are less relevant. We got to build some new ones. How do you build new ones? Our Indian entrepreneurs, when I was in India, 70s, 80s, 60s, they were very smart on that. For them, building a new core competence meant get the right person first. So I've been on the board of a YPO company in America. And one day, Bill Solomon, 100% family owned, called me up. And he said, Mom, I build power plants. And power plants building is getting obsolete. Market is declining. I need to build commercial building. How do I go? I need new capabilities. Harvard MBA, that phrase, new capabilities. So he had been a very good friend of mine. And I said, capability means hiring the right person. He said, that's right. So it took 2 years to find the head of commercial building from a competitor. His market share was zero, competitor's market share in the region, 80%. He chose the right person who brought 2 more people. Today, that company has 80% market share, flourishing it. What's the message? Recruit the right person. Empower the right person. Made a mistake, do the dismissal. This is an imperative part of the business. Today in India, lots of money going to be invested, infrastructure, payments, new technologies in pharmaceuticals coming in. Today is the window for us to seize opportunities. And that's a critical part. The item number 4 here is you must predict the decline in your business because of irrelevance. And to do that, you need to have outside people on your board who can tell you the truth, get advisors, or you get outside editors. Most of the people in the attendance today, I suspect, are small or medium-sized businesses, and their issue is the scaling up. This is my last point on continued adaptation. Scaling up is extremely important. If you don't grow in time with right speed, you will be overtaken by others. Scaling up is 1,000 years old. It's not new. You need to get right kind of advisors. Today we do that. I have them in India. These people are retired CEOs of larger companies who were hands-on, not just talkers, who can get you how to scale up. They have done it. They get you assistance. They get you the areas and knowledge of larger markets. They help you to see which people can help you scale up, who can do the delegation. Delegation is important for scaling up. Do you have the right people who will take the delegation and carry it out? Do you have the systems inside, digitization inside, IT inside, how to organize that to create it? More importantly, they will advise you personally that are you willing to give up what used to be your cocaine that you took satisfaction and instead change to what you want others to do and scale up. This is difficult, but this will be required. In the family companies in India, I'm advising now and saying, most people see inside out. When you observe a company meeting, most people talk about the past. When you see the presentations of the 3-year plan, a very large part of the document is the past. Past is past. We need to have the future. And sometimes now we get outside audits about your strategy, about your business model, about your competition, and the shelf life of competition. Shelf life of your competitive advantage for almost all companies is shrinking. And therefore, the continuous adaptation of the business becomes clear, but you must have liquidity, war chest, and a psychology of the adaptation. My 4th major point is the right people in power. CEO of the company, family, non-family, whatever, and the board, if the board has power to dismiss, to recruit, and you must have some advisors who are very, very knowledgeable, very current, and non-political. You must have a rigorous family process of CEO selection and dismissal. The founder or the parents today don't want to face it. Many of them leave that to the children. You know the examples in India, well publicized, where the father did not write the will, and then all kinds of issues came out. I would say in some cases very ugly. The more important part for the founder is to create a board while he's alive or she's alive. That board could be 4 people, 3 people, 5 people, well tested, who have the credibility with your generation, succeeding generation. They will train children, but make the board work practical now in front of you. And the most critical part of the board are 3. 1, does the CEO have the right people? 2nd, is the company investing money to build a future? And 3rd, is the scaling up and competitive advantage are real? Get that advice. I have a number of those where we have these advisors, and they are very helpful, and they get compensated. Now I come to the most ugly thing. You can't have your business perpetuity in the sense that the family doesn't agree. You don't have the courage to make the decisions because you had done the trust in a way that tied the hands, or your properties, wealth was so done for tax purposes that everybody owned piece of something, and you could not create clear cut. I have those in India where a particular industrialist has 3 sons. They can't agree on anything. They can't do anything that is constructive. So it would mean split the family. Confront that if that is the case. Because perpetuity of business is true for your mind. That may be the answer for you. Splitting doesn't mean the family business will die. It is very likely in the case of 3 or 2 or 4, maybe 1 will take that brand of your family and expand it globally. Continue to do that. You see that in the Birla family, it is split. And the Aditya Birla, Kumar Birla, has taken it to new heights from a very young age of 29 to become a great one. There's nothing wrong in splitting the family if you want business perpetuity. Often a split creates more growth than not. I have another Indian family of the 70s, very famous, fantastic. And they split, and one of the brothers has taken it to new heights. It is true. So there, the people in power create a process. If you make a mistake in that process, you can correct it. And the last point I have here, and that's the founder's dilemma or the parents' dilemma. They want to make everybody happy. You can't have everybody happy if your sole goal is business perpetuity. So I have these 5 points. Be clear and specific about your goal. Other goal has to be subordinates. 3 imperatives: continuous adaptation, individual and or board in power, and effective process that makes sure the right people in power. 3rd item, continuous adaptation, psychology of perpetuity, the business adaptation and entrepreneurship, balancing short-term, long-term, scaling up an outside audit. Number 4, you have a right rigorous family process for CEO selection, board selection, perpetuation of the board. I like the board in Wipro, fantastic perpetuation. Mr. Premji's son is now executive chairman and also chairman of the foundation. He will create more value, more perpetuation that way than possibly becoming a CEO. It's a great, fantastic example of succession in India, from a small oil company towards 3rd largest or 2nd largest or 4th largest in its field, built with great imagination and with great hard work by Premji. And that if nothing seems to work, but the goal is perpetuity of business, maybe family split will be an answer, which most people would like not to do. The fact is, you cannot make everybody happy. PM India is full of entrepreneurs. I see raw talent in India. I have small companies as small as $2 million now to help them. And the entrepreneurship of these people under very difficult circumstances, high interest rates. Companies I have $100 million in sales in India, and brevity with which they move, they need scaling up. We will have import tariffs, new opportunities going to come. It's a bright future. Be courageous, take advantage. Thank you for letting me in, and I'd love to get the questions.
Thank you. Before we come to some of the questions, I'd like to explore other parts of this room, if I may. As in subsequent generations, the entrepreneurial zest and hunger in the family tends to reduce, or this is the hypothesis. So creating and maintaining an entrepreneurial pipeline in the family talent becomes very important to progress the thought of entrepreneurial action. I just wanted to make that point. And very often, families don't know how or focus enough on creating entrepreneurial talent and pipeline within the family. I want to move to another point, Ram. You talked of scale up growth. One of the skills or competencies I'm wondering is how do you build partnerships? How do you create partnerships? You can't grow all by yourself. You can't scale up all by yourself. So is there any thoughts you have on building partnerships, balancing control, balancing the need for capital? What kind of partners should family companies select to help them grow and scale up?
Yeah, it's a great question, PM. And obviously, there is no single answer. But the first part of the family, again, is who is the CEO? Who is the head? His or her aspirations and psychology and courage. And then a board or advisor, set of advisors, that they will try to say, what is the needed help you need? Is it financing? Is it a supplier? Is it go to market? So it goes from business to business, what is needed and working together. That's what the business perpetuity requires, but not a single answer what will work.
Many family companies seek to remain in majority in a partnership. 50-50 partnerships have known to flounder quite a lot as families in the family's quest for scale up. Why would that be? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the 50-50 partnership, even in the public sides, have not worked out. I've been in them myself. I've one in India right now, a big one, and I forewarned the entrepreneur that unless you put a full-time person who would be memorizing all the discussions, all the dialogues, it will come to haunt you. Because the clarity of when the conflict is there, how it will be resolved. Then if we have two partners, we have one, let us say from France, and one from India, and the French person wants to expand very highly. So you got to put your own money in it, and you don't have it. What do? We have that situation in India right now.
Right. So let me shift gears a little bit again. You talked of adaptation as one of the key elements in perpetuity. What about the social context? Sensitivity to the social context, adaptation to the business ecosystem. Can you throw some light on how families can deal with that?
Yeah, see, one of the things, PM, in India, I'm a product of India, product of a small town. We had our values. I was trained as a kid, and we were not literate. a portion of our income should go to society. It's built into the culture. So we're sensitive to it. And we say that if we are on our feet, we can do something for society. If we are not on our feet, we can't do much about it. We can give some time. So the social side is built in our culture to go forward. It is a part of us. But the priority remains, be capable to serve the society. Now we have CSR in India, the only country that I know has that. And I'm so pleased to see how companies are investing. I serve on the board of Renew. It's now the second largest renewable power. And I, as a board member, see the fantastic job Mrs. Sinha does of the CSR. We actually on the board evaluate, have goals, and say, this is fantastic. And Renew is not the only company, others are doing it. That social part of it, just in our fabric. Other companies, other countries are beginning to learn from India.
Right. We are in the middle of adversity. Therefore, this question is long-lived companies have, as we know, lived through wars, political upheaval, natural calamities, and continue to perpetuate and grow. Do you have any thoughts on what businesses, family companies can do to ensure that they're able to manage adversity? I remember a book you've written, The Attacker's Advantage, if I may, if I recollect, where you've said uncertainty is an opportunity for breakthrough action. Can you throw some light on this? How do
I think
family companies?
Yeah, we all know today uncertainty is going to be here. Volatility is going to be here. So there are two items. Item is, and that applies to whether you're a family company or not family company, you have now built what we call scanning the environment. The seeds of change of tomorrow exist today. No change came out of the sky except things like pandemic. They all are initiated by human beings in some way, somewhere. So we now have tools to scan those and identify what are the most likely seeds of today that will create adverse situation. So today I see this almost every day, people's pastime in the hedge funds. And they say, when will, and what will, not when, excuse me, what will create the downturn in the market? What are the early warning signals? So in my book, I've tried to lay out what are those seeds and what are the early warning signals. That's not enough. It's then the people in power. Are they willing to move? In most cases, they know we have to move, but they did not.
I understand. One other thing that's happening, at least in Indian businesses, is that family companies either have not or do not wish to, I'm not very certain as I speak, to separate family wealth from business wealth. All their wealth is in the business. And therefore, in times of adversity, when the business goes through volatility and difficulty, the family wealth erodes substantially. Do you have any reflections on this?
I think it's a matter of the family charter, family values, because they want to show commitment that we are committed to this company. We will, like any other shareholder, if you are public, go with that, but also the confidence that will come back. We will figure out a way. So many of these publicly held family companies, where he took a bath in 1987, 2008, they have come back roaring back because that was a temporary effect. Now there's a permanent effect, yes. So that's a matter of advising to the families that what they want to do for the rainy day for the whole family. So I have a family in America that's 72% owned by the family, publicly held. And it's very dependent on the price of oil, but they're sticking with it. They've taken some money out for philanthropic purposes. So no, we fully committed. There's clear lineup. Who's the CEO? Who's going to be a successor? Not everybody is happy, but the existing generation clearly decided.
Right. In the psychology of perpetuity, you talked of investment for the future and so on, a long view of the business. Is there a case for family companies which are public to delist themselves and get away from the tyranny of the markets, capital markets?
It happened yesterday, or day before. I should tell you this because people don't know this. Walmart is 51% owned by the family in some ways. Sam Walton had a very rigorous process who's going to be on the board from the family. He has to be an entrepreneur. He has to be proven. He has run a business somewhere. They had one CEO retired early. They brought the CEO from inside, Doug McMillan. And he announced day before yesterday or so, they're going to put $14 billion to do building of the future of Walmart. The stock price went down 6%. One day,
Right.
we can build for the future. In retailing, market-wise today, market cap-wise is Amazon. Revenue-wise is Walmart. And I have no doubt Walmart will give run for Amazon's money because they have a strength Amazon doesn't. And Walmart is catching up with those strengths that Amazon has. But there's plenty of room for two of them on a global basis because it's a $25 trillion market in the globe. And Amazon has roughly 400 billion and Walmart has about 560 billion. And there is a huge runway in front.
Right. So I'm going to take some questions now from our viewers. There's a very cryptic question here. In perpetuation, what comes first, family or business?
You decide. You are the one. Are you willing to say, business perpetuity is what I want, even if the family will not remain in it? People want to do both for a period, you could. But the principle is if you don't have the right CEO and the right board that selects a CEO, it doesn't matter.
Right, right. One of the other things in family companies is the predominance or the lack of predominance of merit. Merit gets compromised sometimes in the interest of relationships and so on. So how do family companies build merit into their systems, thinking, and so on?
It's a great question. The first thing we must come to terms, there is no genetic transfer from generation to generation. Number two, the content of merit is not defined. They all look at the papa's merit or mother's merit, if she's the CEO, or somebody they have idealized outside the family. So here, you got to first define what is merit. And the merit is, if you have a family business, you got to define in the context of the CEO. We know that if you have 1 million people, all 1 million are not going to be CEO of a large company. That is a smaller percentage. Now, to your question, you could consider having 2 or 3 advisors who will do the analysis, interview, show, but first define what is the content of the merit you're looking for and get hard data from the family over a period of time to show who is better suited.
Right. I'm going to take another question here. How does one know or estimate what is enough as a war chest or too much debt, especially in the Indian context and in a mid-sized manufacturing business? So how do
Yeah,
you reckon those war chests?
yeah. So PM for liquidity purposes, they are well-known markers, well-known formulas to go after. And we're saying that if your business is cyclical or seasonal, they calculate the break-even point at the trough. And then they start managing a business that at the trough, you don't run into liquidity problems. Liquidity problems come as they have come in pandemic, that the people who buy from you don't want to pay because they don't have money to pay.
Right.
And your supplier saying, I can't give it to you unless you give the money back because I need it too. So those calculations are done today and you got to go business by business. The key here is we know when somebody's trying to get too much debt and say, I've got this lifetime opportunity, I'll make an acquisition that turns out to be terrible. And then the company suffers badly. We have known that as a public knowledge of one of the large companies in India. And that company is suffering very badly because they take too much debt and the telecommunications went the wrong way.
Right. So we have another question. You talked of talent, we talked of merit in the family, company, in the business. There might be mismatch between the aspirations and capabilities of the rising generation, the needs of the business. So there's a question here in that sort of category, if I may use the term. Most businesses do not continue after the third generation. I know of many businessmen whose children just don't want to run legacy companies. How do you motivate the next gen to take over?
Yeah, the key point there is the takeover has many ways to do this. If they don't want it, I tell the parents, you won't be here, and they won't remember you fondly because you're forcing them to do something they don't want to do. So you don't force it. Now, you can take over through other people by controlling the ownership, recruiting the people, recruiting the board who know what they're going to do to perpetuate. We have that. They recruit people to do this. They don't run it. The key thing everybody has to understand, there is no genetic transfer from one to the next generation. It could be better son than the father.
Right.
Better daughter than the father.
Right.
So
you also talked, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You also talked of, talent, the right people at the top to lead and so on.
Yeah.
So the question here, how does the first generation founder of a small company decide on who to choose to lead and when to let him lead the existing small company?
Yeah. Here, you should try, and I've got a couple of Indian companies, $100 million range. Is I'll get you some seasoned retired CEOs from other companies who have recruited people, who have made mistakes, have selected. Have them come and work with you. Give their assessment. Define what your company needs going forward. You go beyond the values, you go into skills. You go into their aspirations, into their capabilities. Or if you get them early enough, you let them go and get some learnings where they have to go. In some cases, I'm sending to 3-week programs, 2 weeks programs. They meet other people. In some cases, I'm saying you got to go and learn about the merger acquisitions, what's happening.
Right, right. So there's another one here, interesting one. When one is running an ancillary company and are set targets by the principals set the targets. The question is how to meet a set of goals in a family business. You have a family business, running an ancillary, set targets by principals. So how do you shape families' goals in this context? That's
Yeah,
the
I
nature of
don't
the
know.
question.
This has to become very specific, PM. Nature of ancillary, what is the ownership and all that? But you need a process here. First, you make it visible to the whole family. In many families, the information is not visible. It's not digested. They don't understand. And so their suspicion comes in. So I have one situation right now in India where you have three family members, and the information is not digested. What's happening in the ancillary? What's happening in this one here? And the financial situation here. And it's not only it's not digested, don't see the implications. So do
Right.
the transparency of information, get somebody to facilitate the understanding of the information, get them to crystallize what the issue is that needs to be resolved. Often that does not happen.
Right. Absolutely. There's another question for you, Ram. You talked of the board, the importance and criticality of the board, a value-adding board. You've written so much on boards. So the question is, can you share your thoughts on the selection or criteria of selection of board members for a
Yeah,
family business?
yeah. This I'm doing it across the globe. Some of the very famous people in Brazil. I'm on the board in China on companies. The first is the values. Second is the integrity and honesty to put the way it is, not sugarcoated. Third is insight in people. Fourth is insight in business. And they do their homework because their commitment is to have the business succeed, whether family succeeds or not. If the business doesn't succeed, the family won't succeed.
Yeah.
And they're seen to be totally neutral among the family members. Now, this is a big task.
Right. So there's one more question on the philanthropy, the role of philanthropy in perpetuity.
Yeah, it's in our culture. I have a view that you choose one or two areas and build it cumulatively over time. Continues,
Yeah.
that has a major impact on society. So some people have education of children below the age of 12 or 13. We will always have children in the society of that age. So you continue with that corridor of societal philanthropy, but new ideas, new ways to train, new ways to grow, get them out of the poverty. You can go globally if you want to go globally, but stay with something to cumulatively make an impact.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to a point you made. Uh, the founder's dilemma is to make everyone happy, have consensus, do not procrastinate, be decisive. How may founders handle this paradox? It seems a very difficult task.
Yeah. PM, they usually have one or two advisors.
Right.
They've known them for years. Where the founder, are known in India in some very high circles. They talk
Yes.
to each other. Even the children don't know that.
Yes. Yes.
And they bear their heart to each other. And
Yes.
then they create a solution, then say, okay, so-and-so is going to be unhappy. We'll find a way for him or her to be unhappy, but we're going to do this.
Yes.
Because the other person gives the assurance, this is the right thing to do, but this is the consequence you got to live with.
Right. Absolutely. There are many questions. I'm afraid time is ticking on. So I'll just would like you to close. I know that you've been pretty crisp and given several points. Uh, so finally, what are the guide rails of for business perpetuity? And we'll close with that.
Yeah, I think PM is that the founder or parents today must have courage to do the right thing, but be extremely clear that business perpetuity is the superordinate goal. Something else may have to be compromised.
Sure.
That is the family. So we have companies where family control fully, or family run but no control, still in power though, or totally no family. You see,
Right.
there's a company called Estee Lauder in America, it's global. Family recruited a professional from P&G. He'd done a marvelous job. They worked together very well. They recognized we need a CEO from outside.
Right. I understand. So anyway, this is a wide, subject. We have several questions. I'm sorry, we won't be able to take all these questions. I've tried to pick those that relate to the business and the family interface. So Ram, thank you very much as we close. Once again, very privileged and very grateful that you've been able to offer us your precious advice and time. Thank you very much. Namaste. Have a good evening.
Namaste, and thank you. Send me the questions. That will be helpful to me going forward. All the questions. Thank you. PM, call me back. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.